Has started. Margie or Kobe, if you're with us.
This is Margie Legowski. I work with Kobe Langley here at the Corporation for National and Community Service. And on behalf of Kobe and the staff here, I'd like to welcome you to this webinar and just point out to you the fact that this webinar is brought to you as a partnership between the Corporation, Education Northwest, and the American Legion Auxiliary, as well as those folks who are who are the presenters today and the organizations they represent. So this is the work that you do in your programs at your level is a partnership. So to work that we do here at the national level, a partnership. So thank you very much, and I'd like to turn it back to Nikki.
Margie, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask Debbie to launch a poll. You should see in a few minutes a poll on your screen, and this is just to give us a little bit of a sense of who is on the phone with us. A little bit of background noise if folks can mute if you're not speaking right now, our panelists. Anyway, there will be a poll that you'll see on your screen. Go ahead and take a couple minutes to complete the poll. While you do, I'd like to introduce Bob Reig of the American Legion Auxiliary.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is Bob Reig. I'm the project director of the American Legion Auxiliary called Service Corps, and that's a brand name that we give to our AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps Vista investments, and we function as an intermediary distributing AmeriCorps and Vista members to many other organizations around the country. I'm pleased today to be able to have two of the organizations that receive AmeriCorps and Vista members through us as guest speakers today. One of the topics that we find very important and necessary in the work that our national service operating sites are engaged in is recommend strategies for identifying and engaging veterans in the programs and services that they offer. And some of our operating sites are veteran and military specific and have a good handle on this challenge because they've served the population for many years. And we also have organizations that receive national service members who are civilian in nature, i.e. they have some broad population of focus and are seeking to expand it to the veteran and military space and are looking for creative ways or just practical ways to be welcoming service delivery agents to the veteran and military population. So that's the aim today, to get out of our discussion today, led by some experts in the field who currently serve the military, so what we can tease out of them that may be applicable to your program delivery. As you slide that's advanced here, the learning goals are to identify tips for identifying veterans at the community level, to learn strategies currently used by nonprofit organizations to recruit and engage veterans, and third, to identify opportunities for national service participate to assist in activities. Next.
I just closed the poll. Debbie, I think you can go ahead and advance the slide. And
yeah. So doing that, I would just encourage our audience today to feel very comfortable asking questions specific to your organization's needs, and also if you have wisdom to contribute to the discussion or a good tip or a suggestion, something that's worked for you, to please share that, and you can do that in the chat feature of the web system here, and the facilitator will field those questions, and panelists have an opportunity to respond to them as well. So we will have several opportunities to hear from you, both your suggestions as well as your questions, and look forward to the hour. I will pass back to Nikki.
You can turn to me, Nikki. So thank you for your patience there. We were closing out the poll, and it took a second. Looked like almost everyone had a chance to complete it. So hopefully participants see the results on your screen now. Looks like we've got quite a mix of participants. We've got a goodly number of Senior Corps folks, and then next in line is AmeriCorps, and then a mix of VISTA, VSOs, and other. Looks like we also a mix of folks who are veterans, members of military families. That would include spouses, children, parents, and that a small majority of folks are already engaging in services to veterans, engaging veterans and family members in their services, and also a small majority that are that have veterans and family members currently providing services to others within their program. So a little bit of experience on the phone, but it looks like we have quite a mix of folks who aren't. With that, I'll turn it over to Bob to introduce our presenters.
Great. Thank you again, and thanks in advance to our speakers today. We have two experts who've worked in service delivery capacity for many years. They also have been in the military and are currently veterans, and that includes Colonel retired Tony Colmenares. He's with American Red Cross South Florida region, and among his many duties, he's responsible for executing the programs and services of the American Red Cross services to the armed forces, which for nationally, and Tony will be able to elaborate on how that happens in South Florida and how they are able to military service members and their families into the Red Cross suite of service. And so joining today is William or Bill Koch. He's with Still Serving Veterans. They're a nonprofit organization based in Huntsville, Alabama, serving veterans and their families in the North Alabama region. Bill's also a veteran, and among his many responsibilities, he is directs the workforce development programming that's Still Serving Veterans first. And both of these agencies, I should highlight, have been active as early adopters of the community blueprint, which we've covered in prior Knowledge Network sessions. But the community blueprint is focused on mobilizing community partners, both civilian, military, and veteran, to identify gaps in services to the Marine veteran population and to fill them as a partnership approach. And I think in that work, these two gentlemen will be able to highlight what their colleagues in civilian space have encountered as barriers and be able to bring that into the discussion as well. So that introduction, I'll turn it back over to the presenters and let them speak about themselves or their agencies. Thank you.
Well, and good afternoon across the country. Truly honored to be here representing the American Red Cross Service to the Armed Forces program, the beautiful South Florida and the Treasure Coast region. It's really an honor to be able to do this, and as a guest listener, accompanied today with truly an individual that has been just an essential piece of what we've been trying to do with our community blueprint, and that's Landry. She's our VISTA member that went last year, and she's been doing just a remarkable job. Thank you, Bob, Nikki, Debbie, Margie, so many out there that are truly bringing this together. I think it's a forum that's much needed, something to kind of share with each other, and truly the way we take care of veterans is, maybe one veteran at a time, but you know what? It takes truly a collaboration of many partners and organizations across the country to take care of these folks and their families. So excited to be here and be one of your guest presenters. Before we go into the community blueprint and what we're doing here in South Florida, I'll just talk quickly, briefly about our Service to the Armed Forces program. Many folks may or may not know that the Red Cross has been doing service to the armed forces for 130 years. We have 58 service delivery units across the globe, in major military installations, and our focus in service delivery for these type of units has always been emergency communications for our service members and their families, and there is truly the first stop for a lot of these military personnel and families when they reach out to an organization for assistance. So very proud of our Service to the Armed Forces program led by Sherry Brown, our National Vice President for SAF. So, and we are proud to be part of this collective effort and proud to be representing the Community Blueprint in the South Florida region. Next, please. Truly, Community Blueprint, as you can imagine, was created through really an effort by many nonprofit organizations to try to look at coordinating and synchronizing the veterans programs that exist today. I'm always taken back when they tell you, we got over 399,000 veteran program currently in the country. That's a monumental amount of programs, as you can imagine, and trying to synchronize and coordinate the efforts of so many programs is essential, and I think that's truly what the Community Blueprint brings to be able to do that. Next slide, please. We cover 8 counties in our region. Very proud of our community. We have over 370,000 veterans live amongst us. We are the largest region in the state of Florida, and of course, the state of Florida is one of the largest states in the country with veterans population of over 1.6 million veterans. We work closely with our Florida Department of Veteran Affairs and many other agencies as we look at the blueprint. Next slide. 8 focus areas, as you're probably aware of what the blueprint entails. Quickly go ahead through all 8 of those and bring all up, please. Volunteerism, family strength, employment, education, financial, legal, behavioral health, reintegration, and housing. We need to focus on 3 of those. Next slide. Volunteerism, reintegration, and housing. And I'll be going a little bit more detail about what each of these programs entails and how we've taken basically how to move forward in implementing these. Next slide. Next slide. Leave it there for just a second. This first one, volunteerism, we chose that one because the Red Cross is truly a volunteer-led organization. So we want to try to look at an area where we can increase our base, but also come up with common best practices that we can share with other partner organizations. So we started this effort back in December of last year when we our Community Blueprint project here in South Florida. Build a coalition of over 100 partners to be able to do this. Today we have close to 200 partners that signed up with us to be part of the Community Blueprint effort. We did a formal launching that we did back in December 8th of 2011. Met periodically with our partners over the last 8 or 10 months to take a look at what are the issues that they would want to have looked at collectively through this Community Blueprint process. So some of these that we focused on were the ones that they early on said, hey, we really want to try to focus on these, and we chose these 3 that I'll talk to in a minute as the ones that we have focused within our region. The Volunteer Leadership Program was a program that was created by the Red Cross. It's a pilot program, and it's a program that focuses on our reserves and our active duty members. In our case, we have so many of those living amongst us, and truly the idea is to try to capture those individuals that have incredible skill sets to try to and become and expand our volunteer base. We have successful with that program to date. We really have over 91 reservists enrolled in that program currently. We capture their hours, their community service hours, and we report that back to their command. And the intent here is that as we do that, the commands now have the opportunity to award to a lot of these well-deserving community members the Military Volunteer Outstanding Service Medal. And that's significant for some of these military members. Could mean the difference between one promotion or the next. You actually get 15 points to next promotion by being awarded that medal there. It's a piece there that we offer to them. Very excited about that. We could prove what this process would be like just recently, a few weeks back, when we had to ramp up in support of Tropical Storm Isaac. Was coming through our region here, and we were able to stand up a call center pure manned by these reserve individuals that came in over a 5-day period throughout our region here and manned our call center operations, really linking all the counties together to be able to provide timely and important information back to our community as the storm came to our region here. So it was very successful. We thought that we didn't have to ramp up them. But again, it's something that's already proven itself. We had the opportunity to share this with other partner organizations throughout the country. It's a very popular program and one that already yielded incredible results for us here in South Florida. Next slide, please. The program that we focused on was on reintegration. Reintegration, to me, for a guy like myself that went from transitioning after 31 years of military service back to a community, there's that gap that exists today between military service and fully coming home. So we chose to focus on the reintegration piece and how we posture ourselves to try to help our military members and their families reintegrate back home. Through that, created a program called the Transition Reintegration Program. It's a pilot program that's being launched here in the South Florida region and the Treasure Coast region to provide a holistic and a comprehensive program to help our military members and their families reintegrate back home. So we pick up at the gate, we pick them up at the station, and basically we help these individuals go through a reintegration process. We have 8 components that we actually put together for this program here. It's a very targeted reintegration process. The first one is intake and assessment, and that component is led by the American Red Cross. Through our programs, as we work through our clients every day, we have systems in place to be able to do that. We take these individuals in, we process them, we do a very detailed assessment of their skills and what they've done over the number of years they've been in the military, and then we take those skills and we transform that into what we together call an individual reintegration plan. And that plan is truly a roadmap of what these folks need to be able to reintegrate back home in the community. Then the specific service delivery components of employment, housing, healthcare, legal services, education and training, sponsorship, and financial assistance. So those components are the ones that are actually the service delivery aspect of the program, and each of them may go through all of them or strictly one or two of the components, depending on what the assessment feels after we bring them in. So we did a soft launch of this program back in February of this year. Happy to report that we're getting ready to roll our first transition reintegration office. Will be open mid-October. We'll have the full range of capabilities for all the component areas, but we chose to do a soft launch back in February and focus on about 3 of the components, one being employment, another one being healthcare, and being education and training. On my report on each of those components, we've had just some incredible successes. Through our partner organizations in the region here, specifically under the employment, we were able to engage industry leaders and companies to develop a program called the Targeted Hiring Program. And the hiring program is very specific to bringing the veterans those identifiable skills that we did during the assessment process and marrying them up with what industries and companies are looking for to bring and hire into the organization. We do this in a formal manner with these industries and companies. We actually have an agreement that we developed called a Trusted Partnership Agreement, where the organizations and companies actually sign and say, hey, we can provide and allocate X amount of positions for our veterans to be able to come back and reintegrate within the employment component. We've done 4 targeted hiring events. I'm going to report today that we've been able to place 423 veterans in the region here over the last 5 months. Out of 423 veterans, the significant thing is that 80% of those have been retained for longer than 90 days, which to me is significant. It's not just about getting a job for a veteran. It's about getting employment for someone that's going to be there over the long term. So for us, a very important piece of what we're trying to do. We understand that most of these veterans that leave the military with probably about cash reserves in the neighborhood of 30 to 45 days. So we've got to work very quickly with them to try to get in place immediately within the community to seek employment and hold that employment for a period of time. So very successful. We've worked with many organizations, employment organizations, and other partners have been part of this process here. So though we're the conveners and the facilitators, it's truly a partnership endeavor that we've been able to put together with just some incredible agencies in our region. Then there is and I'll talk a little bit about the health care. We've been very successful in bringing in vets that may not have the necessary benefits to treatment at the VA, or they may not have the protocols in place at the VA to treat them. And we're working with a collection of doctors and others, healthcare providers, that are doing pro bono work for some of our veterans. And our piece has been to bring them in, help where we can. We work with other partners for lodging, for example, and for meals and those kind of things. Very successful. In the last few months, we've helped 4 veterans go through a 30-day intensive health care program to a variety of traumatic brain injuries and post-traumatic stress disorders. So again, we're very proud of that networking opportunity there, and we hope to expand that even more so that our veterans that are coming back and may not have the quality health care they need immediately can look at some alternative ways of doing it. So again, very successful thus far, and we hope to expand that even greater by next year. I'll touch on the reintegration component, the education and training. We partnered up with many educational institutions in this region here. One in particular, FIU, Florida International University. We partnered up with them with a food and hospitality program that they created, and basically are offering free training for veterans and dependents, not just our veterans. So go ahead and get into the food and hospitality business. So that's been pretty successful. We had our first cohort graduate on August 7th. We started the program in June of this year. We had 10 veterans that we recruited with our partner organizations, and out of the 10, all 10 graduated. All of them were placed within the industry. This is an incredible program. They give 6 weeks of food and hospitality training with 2 weeks paid internship at the end, total of 8 weeks, and then they help the individuals place with the various fields. So we've been successful with this program. We have another 50 veterans that just started the next cohort back on August 14th. They'll graduate in October. So we're very excited about that program and other programs, the same type of educational institutions that we're trying to develop to try to help our veterans and their family members. I'm proud to say that the first cohort had 8 dependent spouses from service members that were deployed in Afghanistan, from others that were in the area participated in that. All 8 graduated. Actually, the valedictorian for the first cohort was one of our veteran spouses that we recruited. So we're very proud of that young lady. And then we had 2 veterans. One in particular was a homeless veteran that we had pulled off the street and actually went through this program. I'm happy to report today he is no longer homeless. He got a job, he's at home, and he's thriving. So we're excited about that program there. That's in essence the transition integration program. Each of the components there are very sophisticated components, and we work. Each of them are being led by partner organizations. So, for example, our employment component is actually being led by our Workforce Alliance folks and our Workforce One folks. That's a state program, so they're leading that component. Our education and training component, for example, is being led by Nova Southeastern and FIU and University of Miami and Miami-Dade College. So we have folks that are leading that component. Legal component is being led by Coast to Coast Legal and my legal system and other partners that have stepped up, and they truly are working in a collaborative fashion to help our veterans, so that we are the conveners and the facilitator, but truly the community blueprint and what it entails to do is truly what we're trying to make happen really here in the South Florida region. So, next slide, please. The focus areas that we chose to focus on was housing and homelessness, and this has been a labor of love, for a lot of us that see some of these young people coming back and seeing struggles that they're facing. And all of you know that where it used to take 7 years during the Vietnam era to become homeless, that's happening at a greater rate today. And I tell you, how it breaks your heart, when you see these young folks out there, in the corner or living in their vehicles. So we went and worked very hard on this initiative. This is one of the first focus areas that we started off with, and we were able to be very successful. Last year in September, we briefed the City of Miami mayor, and the City of Miami is the largest city in the state of Florida. And the quick law, what we're trying to achieve here, and quickly embraced this homeless initiative. Did he embrace it, but he took incredible steps in creating the first type homelessness task force and asked the American Red Cross to lead that task force. You know, we're so honored to be able to do that. We, as part of our task force membership, many organizations that represent, you know, really the cross-section of our communities working on this task force. I'm happy to report today that through those efforts, 20 veterans have been pulled off the street, and now, you know, they no longer reside in the streets of Dade or other places. So we're working very close with our Florida Department of Veteran Affairs as we place some of these veterans in transitional and permanent housing. We're working very closely with our VA programs. Our VA homeless program is one of our key task force members on the Homeless Vets Task Force. We work with them to place our veterans and get the necessary materials they need to be able to kind of live in one of these transitional housing areas. So again, a lot of effort has been undertaken under this community blueprint here. I'll tell you that no person, no one agency can do this. It truly requires a coalition and a partnership of community service members working together, you know, toward a common purpose and a common goal. I think we're achieving that. We have much, much more to do. The work has merely started. If I had to give a percentage of how well we're doing, I think we're about 20%. You know, and I'm a pretty tough grader, so 80% more work to do. So that is my presentation for what we're doing here in South Florida. Are there any questions? Next slide.
Tony, this is Bob Reeg. I have a question to some of our listeners who would be from agencies that don't have massive experience with veteran and military, but wish to extend programs they currently offer to that population. Would be one or two good outreach tips, like how would an organization, let's say I'm a county behavioral health authority, just as an example. What would I do to fund veterans or service members and let them know I have services that are available to them? What's a nice community-based way to go about doing that?
Yeah, great question, Bob. And I would offer folks that really want to get into this business not to try to reinvent the wheel. There's many organizations out there doing a lot of great work, and it's those that you want to partner up with. For example, the Red Cross, and I'll speak to the Red Cross, have opportunities to work with Yellow Ribbon events, and those are National Guard events, those are reserve events. We all have an opportunity to work with active military forces that are in the area to attend all the pre-deployment and post-deployment briefings. It's sort of working with these agencies that are already established. I would ask folks to take a look at your county. Every county has veteran service officers and veteran service programs. Engage your counties, engage your veteran service organizations, VFW, American Legion, Navy League, all these different entities, so that you get on their agenda, you can get on their distribution list. I would invite over 300 people every time I attend a Yellow Ribbon event. Many of those partners and agencies also attend. So we've actually grown the program even in the Yellow Ribbon side of the world. So I'd offer that, Bob, as really kind of the first step is don't reinvent something that's probably already working. Is tell people that the way to do it is not to replicate effort, but try to collaborate with one another. So we don't duplicate what's happening out there already. We want to kind of collaborate with some of these programs. So that's the piece that I would offer those that are listening today.
Okay, a second question to pose to you. Would you recommend that organizations in their assessment, like if they're doing formal or even case management type of takes, so that people screened for veteran and military status? And if so, is there particular language that you'd recommend be used to do that, or is that a sensitive area to ask someone anyway that's offensive to ask? Or what are some of your thoughts about the protocols around identifying people coming in the door who may be a veteran or a service member?
For example, in our program here, we use DD-214s, and for those that don't know what a DD-214 is, record of service. So everybody that leaves the military has one. And really what you take to an employer, what you take to your next opportunity to find work. So it's not inappropriate to ask the individual, to verify their service. So we routinely do that within our programs, and I know that many other programs do the same thing. I don't think they're going to reveal any information that's of confidential nature. And again, you don't have to keep the DD-214; you just need to cite it. And then all you're doing is verifying that they are a veteran, and you can just ask them. And and some of the people that are doing this kind of work, examples of people like and others that are out there, we know exactly who a veteran is after we ask a couple questions, where you serve, who you serve with, those kind of things. But those that don't have any veteran background, I will tell you that the first thing you want to ask for is that DD-214 and say, would you mind if I cite the DD-214? And all their information on there, their name and what service and the years that they actually served in the military.
Thanks, Tony.
And then
Bob, do you want to facilitate the questions coming through on the chat, or shall I?
Okay, I'm not seeing them, so go for it.
Okay, great. So just a couple questions from our participants. We have a couple minutes before I'm going to turn it over to Bill. We had one question about whether you can make your feedback and your intake and assessment forms available to participants. That's kind of a follow-on on what Bob was just asking.
Well, the intake piece we do is through existing systems. However, we do have some forms that I would make available that we've used in past and other programs. Our current SAF client case system that we utilize for the American Red Cross, we're using that system, and that's obviously an intra-Red Cross system. But I do have forms that we've used in the past that I'll surely make available, and I'd love to share them with everyone.
Great. So we've got a bunch of questions, and I'm going to take at least one more, and then we might have to circle back and answer some of these at the end. What is your most successful strategy to engage veterans in community volunteering, if you had to name one?
Well, to name one is really the immediate personal contact with these individuals. We're very successful in bringing volunteers, and not only that, bringing volunteer veterans in, so that veterans are helping veterans now. They feel great about themselves. They got to help themselves. So the successful strategy is that you immediately engage them, especially when you do these type of yellow ribbon events, and you follow up with 24 hours. Don't linger, because if you get them right away, the chances of them becoming an actual volunteer and staying with you, it goes up dramatically. So that would be my recommendation, is that I find through maybe one of the various forums and follow up with them within 24 hours. And I think you'll get a volunteer who's going to stay with you for a while.
Yeah, that makes great sense. There's a couple other questions that I'm going to kind of roll into one because they're sort of similar. There's some specific questions about outreach. For example, how do you reach out to military children? And then there's another question that's sort of specific about identifying military families. It was about healthcare providers, but maybe if you can talk in general about reaching out and identifying the families and the children rather than veterans and service members themselves.
Yes, we engage through the various family programs that are offered in all communities. Just so that every command, whether you're reserve, active, guard, has a requirement to provide family advocacy type programs for their families and children. So we find out who that person is. Normally it's a family readiness officer, part of the command, and we make contact with that person. We build a relationship, and we get a distribution list. So anytime they have a picnic, anytime they have a family day, we're there, and we're there specifically to engage the family members and the children. So we work with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, for example, as a partner of ours, and we've been working to try to help them reach out to more of the children of military members and veterans. So that's one of the initiatives that we utilize, and again, we're very successful. Every time you go to one of these affairs, you have 200 and 300 family members there. So it's worked very successful for us.
Tony, I think you might have clicked on your camera icon, so if you click on that again, you'll be transmitting your image, unless you wanted to. With that, we are right on track in our schedule to switch over to Bill. So thank you for the questions you presented to Tony. If we have more questions that we didn't get time to answer, please just send those at the end, and we'll make sure they get answered. And with that, I'll pass it over to Bill.
First off, I want to echo Tony's sentiments and thank everyone for the opportunity to speak today. And something that he said is very significant, and when I go into this, you'll understand. This has to be a community effort. No one organization can do it all. It's a daunting task. With my organization, for those that aren't familiar with it or what we do, we did in 2007 as a 501c3. Bob said we're based out of Huntsville, Alabama. Our organizational mission is to empower veterans and their families to transition into the workforce in their communities. 3 areas of concentration: resource development, and community blueprint. You'll switch, please. Next slide. This slide, we've been very effective in providing services to our veteran population. And just want some highlights. We've served 5,000 veterans, not just here in Huntsville, but across the nation thanks to technology. Are recognized, and we've received several awards as well as being selected as a pilot site for several initiatives. We're pilot for the community blueprint because of our unique situation. We have a large veteran population here in Huntsville, but we have a very small active duty population. This is outside the gate of Redstone Arsenal, which got hit with the realignment and closure. Most people brag. And what has the consequences that the Ontario Command, the largest logistical organization in the country, headquarters here. We've got a 4-hour command organization on the base, and then a lot of defense industry contractors that set operations right outside the base. And what happened was it created the second largest research park in the country. Defense contractors draw veterans. So there's a veteran population, and consequently many veterans organizations here in Huntsville. Next slide, please. In 2000, we conducted 2,404 one-on-one counseling sessions, and we helped 130 veterans secure meaningful new careers. So far, in 2012, we've conducted over 1,600 counseling, and we've helped 20 veterans into there so far. Our numbers don't seem that high as far as finding them jobs, is we're running into an issue with specific skill sets being required by the government on government contracts. So I have contractors that get me say they want to hire veterans, but they have specific requirements, so it makes it a little difficult. One of the things that we found that's in order to get veterans engaged in your programs and services, you really prove yourself. In 2006, when we started off to help veterans file their claims for benefits with the VA, then we developed a workforce development program, which was big on the needs of our clients. They come in to file claims and tell us they'd help finding jobs. We got mostly through word of mouth that there was an organization in the community that would help them and not just shuffle them off to somebody else. That we begin. And I think that's real important. Our board calls it the secret sauce. You have to show a veteran that you care. A lot of these organizations they go to, they're just a number. The team is passionate about helping veterans. One thing I'll share with you at this point is that our staff, when we began, were all either retired military or veterans. The staff continues to be either retired veterans or somebody that has a veteran in their family. Very important to us that we have that connection with the veterans. We've done this over the years, and we've formed a lot of partnerships. Slide, please. are many veteran organizations we have relationships with. We have partnerships with the Wounded Warrior Regiment out of Quantico, the Warrior Transition Units at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and Fort Gordon, Georgia, the VA Medical Center in Birmingham, Alabama, the VA Medical Center in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the Community-Based Warrior Transition Unit, stations on Redstone Arsenal, and with many of organizations called the North Alabama Veterans and Fraternal Organizations Coalition. Big long name, we call it the NAVFAR. It has 55 members, including Blue Star Moms, DFW, American Legion, AUSA, Simplified Community Task Force, just organizations. We form partnerships with all of them because of the we have provided veterans and the number of veterans we've served, we've gained credibility. We also point out that to go and find out about these other organizations and then reach out to them. They didn't come to our door and say, hey, we want a partner. So when you want to engage somebody in your programs, you reach out. You also need to have presence at all veterans events. Tony was talking about the Yellow Ribbon program. They have an event that includes veterans in your area, then you have a presence so that they are there to help them. The fact that all of our services are free to veterans and their family helps. So I started in 2006, and now 2012, we go to organization in the Huntsville area. The organizations talk about SSB is a legitimate veteran service organization, and the veterans here to help or help. We all have relationships with a number of companies, both big and small. But what I said, we're local, but we are working on a national level because of partnerships like we're talking about and the technology that's available to us through the internet. Some of the things we're doing, workforce development. Next slide, please. Slide, training and hiring events. Listed 3 of the organizations that work with us. We have our veteran clients submit their resume to us for positions at what organization is putting on the event. And we set candidates up to the limit of the event. And for example, SAFC limits us to 30 participants. So 30 of our clients give us resumes, we send it to that organization ahead of the training, and then they meet for candidates that they are truly interested in. They class for that day, and the kind of training it be how to complete the interview or how to network, using social media, just training they're comfortable with. We training ahead of time, of course, to make sure that they're going to give good training for our veterans. But what happens is after the training, everyone gets interviewed and it turns into a hiring event. The organization already has pre-selected based on the resumes we send them, the best they want to look at, but everybody gets an interview. So those pre-selected, they still get the opportunity to interview, and none of the veterans knows who actually is being interviewed for the jobs. The jobs are offered. That's a successful model for us so far, and it's attracting a lot of veterans to us. We have a training program. We met with the Society of Human Resource Managers. Human professionals in the area are matched with local veterans for one-on-one mentoring. We developed another mentoring program with the Huntsville City School System. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the school system to hire veterans, and those in turn become mentors to the children. Next slide, please. Okay. Up on the side, but that's okay. Done. Some of the programs we have done are run completely by volunteers. They're at their site. We're going to be recording all of our training, and we're going to be putting it on our website. We have a lot of different initiatives going on, and building credibility in your programs and showing results is really what drives the interest for the veterans to take advantage of. Well, because of your programs, they want to act. Tony already stated that before. That's how we get a lot of our volunteers. They come through our organization, take advantage of our programs, and then they want to give back. So they come and they help administer the program. We've been successful, and we have volunteers available to help us. We stepped up into the 21st century, and we hired a marketing graduate to help us with the social media stuff. We've set up websites so that companies can go and access veterans' resumes. We're on Facebook. We're moving to podcasts and webinars and recorded training sessions. So, telling all the organizations represented out there, I highly recommend you embrace the technology and social media, engage veterans and their families. If you don't use the technology that's available, you're going to get left behind. You won't be able to access these folks. Some of them are involved, and we conduct job fairs with our organizations. We were doing it by ourselves, but it took a lot of manpower. So now when we conduct a job fair, it's in partnership. The job fair with the Chamber of Commerce, we did one with the American Red Cross, and one with the Winston Business Center of North Alabama. The Business Center was pretty unique because we had 3 training tracks in the morning. We had a training track for job seekers, we had one for entrepreneurs, and we had one for companies seeking veterans. Then we had lunch and had a panel of experts about employment issues, and then we capped off the day with a job fair that had 2 employers represented. We also partner with staffing agencies, and that's really because with the economy, many employers are looking to staffing agencies for their needs. Next, please. I'm fortunate enough here in North Alabama to have 4 job clubs. We really had 2 of them, and we know the 2 are out there, but they're very active, and we haven't been invited to participate. So, but we do have 2 clubs that we present to regularly. There are a lot of companies in Alabama and actually around the country. We have a network of people that we're connected with through the internet and email, and all of them are out there to help veterans. They have the word about our organization, and when they have a veteran that needs help, they refer them to us. We into our network and trying to help the veterans. So we're helping veterans all over the country, and we're tying in other networks. I thought the workforce development aspect of our organization, but I said there in the presentation, we up with VA claims, and we're looking for community blueprint. Next slide, please. Next slide. Community has been very active, engaging the community and other organizations that are out there helping veterans. We public viewing of the movie to help, and actually had to do 2 screenings. There was so much interest in it. And one of that screening is when grandparents come to us after they saw the movie and told us that they had a grandson that was suffering some PTSD issues, and they just didn't know what was going on before then. Now they do, and they're able to get him some help. Bloom has also set up roundtable discussions in terms of the community blueprint. So what they did, go out and the organizations that are veterans in that particular area, they bring them to our facility and they share best practices and the facilitator reaching out to veterans in the whole community. Our teams also engaged in incubation of the mentoring program with the Huntsville City Schools. We've been compiling a resource guide. The guide got the National Resource Directory. And folks there, but we have put together a resource guide which covers the 5 counties of Northeast Alabama. So when a veteran comes into our organization, every need is right there in a little booklet. somebody that has been a recipient of our services, they learn to care, and that they're going to be treated with respect. No question is inconsequential or silly, and no problem is too small for us to address. We take care of our veterans. That's how we engage our veterans. Not only to take advantage of our programs, but administer the programs as well. That concludes our presentation. So, is there any questions?
Yes, Bill. This is Nikki, Education Northwest. I'll give folks a minute or two to type in questions. Paula Sotnick posed an interesting question that either you can answer, and some of our participants are starting to answer it as well, but I'll just read it for anyone who might not be logged on. Recruit and support, potentially through accommodations, warriors and veterans with disabilities, particularly PTSD and traumatic brain injuries. Are programs or workplace organizations concerned about selecting and hiring someone with PTSD and TBI?
Well, tough question. The first thing is for the people that are suffering from PTSD to the center, that every city has a vet center because you have to have at least 50,000 veterans. But the vet center is affiliated with the VA, and that is specifically addressed PTSD issues. As far as employers, are a little weary of folks with PTSD because there's a preconceived notion out there that I'm a cliche, that the person suffering from PTSD is going to go postal. The friends are not required to tell the employer that they're suffering from PTSD. So that's an individual thing, whether they wants to share that with the employer or not. And we're at liberty to tell an employer that a veteran has PTSD.
Right. Thank you. And I see some other folks chiming in on that one. I encourage the discussion online. One question I think we have time for, and this is from Kathy Baird, wondering if either of you, Red Cross or still serving veterans, has a memo of understanding that you use with partnering organizations that you'd be willing to share with participants.
Thank you. This is Tony, and yes, we have one, and yes, I'd be willing to share. We create locally here in support of the community blueprint, so I think it's something we can surely share with the rest of the community.
Thank you so much, Tony. And I think maybe the easiest way is for you and Bill, if you have something to go ahead and send it to us at Education Northwest, and we'll include it with the follow-up items associated with this webinar. So we have about 5 minutes left. I'm not seeing a bunch of additional questions on the chat. So you should be seeing on your screen right now contact information for both of our presenters.
I have more questions.
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Sure. So I'm just going to ask Bill to weigh in similar to the question I asked of Tony. But from a different take, are there outreach strategies or messages that should guard against in outreach to the military or veterans? Those are not to do. You've all really highlighted the importance or the important value of having military experience as part of your staff team or your volunteer corps to be your ambassadors. But let's face it, a lot of organizations don't have it built into their staffing, and they still want to serve veterans and military. So they do. Okay, I don't have more money to hire a veteran to do my outreach work, and I'm not going to fire somebody in order to clear the space for them. What should I do next?
Great question, Bob. One of the things that you should is make sure that you don't have preconceived notions when you're reaching out to veterans. There's a lot of press out there that the veterans are touchy, they might have anger issues and stuff like that. You need to wipe those out and just look at them like anybody else. You're reaching out, you want to help them. So You want to make sure that that's the message that comes across loud and clear, that you want to help them, and not that you're just doing it because you feel sorry for them.
Suggest, Tony, did you have anything, additional thoughts on that?
Heard previously, Bob, and again, it's engaging them at the various forums out there, and I can't emphasize enough, partnering up with folks that do that already. It'll save you so much time and effort, and people will be surprised that they're willing to open the doors and say, hey, we'll partner up with you.
And do either of you have any suggestions, if any adaptation or tailoring to standard services are necessary for success at serving the veterans and military once they're in the door? Or is it, hey, this is what we offer, take it or leave it? Or are there things that, I don't know, it's kind of hard without being specific, but I guess since both of you talked about workforce services, things that you, the workforce service delivery provider in your agency would do in terms of either message or tactics with a veteran or military person that would be different than how they would support a civilian?
One of the things that we do, Bob, we do case management. So when they come in the door and they meet with our workforce development guy, there's our interview process. And we go through this whole thing about translating their military skills into civilian skills. And that's different than when dealing with somebody that hasn't been in the military. They don't have to do that translation process. But that's the only difference that I would say that you have to go through with a veteran that you wouldn't go through with a civilian.
Okay, I want to draw that out because it's been coming up as a theme in the chat as well as both of you, that when it comes down to it, we're all human beings and we all need the same things or we don't, but there's a lot of differentiation in the actual service that's needed. It's more where I see more need to just differentiate is on the front end about the outreach and engagement, and that's kind of a takeaway I'm seeing in a bit of the chat here and some of your thoughts. So I want to give a second and pass at that, and as you did. I'll stop now, Nikki, if you... Yeah, Tony, go for it.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that we did here and the launching of the TRP, the Transition Reintegration Program, back in February really helped us to take a look at just some of the adjustments we would have to make with our client casework. One of the things that we noticed right away is that we've actually modified how we do our client casework now. We do some work in office, but the bulk of our work, we do what we call at the service at the point of need. So we're really going out and meeting the clients in their environment, meeting the clients where the need is at. That's a big modification as to how we've traditionally done client casework. We actually modified that here in the last 7 months. About of the client casework takes place in an office setting. 90% now takes place at the point of need. Wherever the veteran, where that family member's at, that's where we try to service these clients at now.
Okay, thank you. And turn it back to you. Do you have additional questions in here that you need to field?
And I just want to be cognizant of everybody's time. We are just over our hour, and I see some folks logging off. So I would go ahead and point you to this slide on the screen right now. This is a great place to continue this discussion. The Veterans and Military Families Knowledge Network, and the URL is on your screen, easy to remember. So for folks who do have to jump, we encourage you to go ahead and continue the discussion there. Me and Bill, I'm not sure if you're available to stay on a few extra minutes for a couple more questions.
Yes.
So I think there's one that's, again, kind of an all-inclusive question that you guys have gotten at in different ways, but I'm seeing it come through a few more times. So maybe just any last tips about how to actually find veterans and military families, both for and as recipients of service. Maybe if there's just anything you haven't shared yet, and that would be a great way for us to conclude.
I'll go, Bob, if you don't mind. I can't emphasize the community approach and working with community organizations and agencies to identify the veterans. They're just a great resource, and they're there already. They're funded. They have, and I don't mind sharing. I'll give you an example. Our veteran service offices for the county actually shares their DD-214 they receive. They normally get these DD-214s about 30 to 60 days, supposedly after the veteran comes back. A lot of them get them after the veteran comes back. But so that's a great way of getting information, so you can actually do outreach, working through these VSOs and communicating and contacting these veterans. So I look for that. County veteran service organizations get these through the VA, and the DD-214s, a copy of them goes to all the VSOs in the countries across the country.
And that's exactly right, Tony. And not only that, any VA, whether hospital or clinic that's in your area, I recommend you go reach out to them and let them know that you're out there to help. This will help you spread that word. It goes out pretty quick if you're doing a good job.
Both of you. I see folks making some nice personal connections on the chat as well, and some because it'll probably lead to new collaborations and continue this good work. So I think that's wonderful. I think Margie Legowski at the corporation wants to give a final word before we sign off. So Margie, I'm going to pass it to you.
Thank you much, Nikki. And again, thank you everyone for participating in this wonderful webinar. Just want to reiterate that the Knowledge Network is a place where you can go to download and listen to the webinar on the community blueprint that was referenced early on in the presentation. So please do visit that wonderful set of resources, and most importantly, please add your own. We'd love to have you as part of this group. Thank you.
And just finally, there is information also on the Knowledge Network about our next webinar on Wednesday, October 31st, Unpacking the Transition from Military Service to Civilian Life. So you'll find registration information there. With that, we'll say a hearty thank you to all of our presenters and to Bob from the American Legion Auxiliary for joining us, and wish you a good day.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Yeah, that sounds a real.
Oh, now.
Yeah, that's
Joe.
Tony, and I wish we could ask them, because I'm pretty sure that 400 and something jobs